A very good afternoon, ladies and gents. What an exciting session that we are here today. Now, I see some friends who are really who have made it just right before this live session. In fact, 45 minutes before this live session. So I could tell there's so much anticipation to this exciting session. You know that early bird catches the worm. So there we go. There's 34 of you guys in the live room right now, and not forgetting our friends in social media at the same time as well. So yes, to all the ladies and gents, I'm just going straight to what we are doing here and what we're achieving here. So a very warm welcome to everyone, and thank you so much for your time for making it to another exciting live session of Agroz opportunity in food and agri-tech, growing quality and freshness that you can trust. This is specially brought to you by InvestAQ. And for those who are not familiar with InvestAQ, we're a team of investor relations professional that where we help clients to maximize and amplify and extend their market presence to the right and relevant investor community across Southeast Asia. So currently, we are, in the midst of establishing our fully AI, power portal that where we help, the community of entrepreneurs connecting, to the right investors. But this event is it's together with Agroz itself. So those who have attended InvestAQ, you are very familiar with our program format. So at any point of time throughout this live session, do feel free to ask your question, post up your questions in the chat box in Zoom. And as well as, of course, to our social media friends, in the comment box, and we will be entertaining, the questions at the right times itself. Now, to those who have not attended any of our InvestAQ's live show, and this is your very first time, please give a shout out, in the Zoom room. Stating where you're from, your name, and also your company, and we would like to say a big hello, to you as appreciation, of thank you for making it, to our live session. So now, my friends, in recent years, the food and agricultural industries have been inundated by discussion over climate change and the prospects of a global population that could reach nearly 10 billion by 2050, creating the need to grow for more food. At the same time, some consumers have placed more attention and altered their shopping habits to prioritize items that are more sustainable and have a smaller environmental footprint. Now, the convergence of these factors had created momentum to produce more food with less, making technology such as vertical farming more enticing. Now, the key word here is that we are talking about today is it's certainly vertical farming as what you guys are all interested about. But I'll leave it to the speakers later who will be sharing more in depth about what really vertical farming is exactly mean. Now, if we look at the whole entire global capital raising market for this particular industry, there's been a huge, substantial amount of money to be invested in few of the key dominant players across the world. Now, the global vertical farming market is expected to register a compounded annual growth rate of 23.5% in the forecast period from last year, 2019, all the way to 2026. Now, I do have a list of some of these key players have successfully secured a substantial amount of money from investors across the globe since 3 years ago. Now, in July 2017, SoftBank has invested 200 million American dollars in Plenty, one of the dominant players in the south of San Francisco. Now, followed by 2 months later, August 2017, IKEA and also the Sheikh of Dubai have invested 40 million American dollars in Arrow Farms, arguably now known as the largest vertical farms in the world. Now, fast forward in the year of 2018. Google Ventures have invested 90 million American dollars in Bowery Farming, a New York origin, and they have expanded to 3 other farms across Maryland and also New Jersey as well. Now, earlier in the 2019, the largest farm operators in the world, Arrow Farm, had raised up another round of 100 million American dollars, bringing its totals of 238 million American dollars to be raised. Now, even the retail's giant target that is in the store vertical farming 4 years ago. Now, last year, 2020, is we're also seeing that the emergence that's taking place across Southeast Asia, Bayer and Temasek, which is no strangers to the investments ecosystem, two large investment arms companies coming together and form as a new venture, Unfold, and they have raised a total of 30 million American dollars with the initial funding round. Now, there's a huge buzz that's taking place across the world. And of course, from all around the world to the heart of Kuala Lumpur, we have a visionary entrepreneur who is ready to establish a mark in building the largest indoor vertical farming in Malaysia. Now, he's an established technopreneur with accomplished leadership skills and has over 28 years of experience with a proven track record in organizational and people building, digital strategy, business modeling, experience, design, digital marketing, technology direction, technology management, digital transformation, and business development. He has a very strong, proven track record in leading, managing, building business from startup stage to a turnaround management and growing businesses into multi-million-dollar venture, and then having exited two of his previous ventures through a trade sale to a public listed companies on the Sweden and the London Stock Exchange, creating over 20x to 30x as a ROI for stakeholders. Ladies and gents, today my name is Arthur Tan, one of the co-founders of InvestAQ, and I'm here, very proudly presenting you Gerard Lim, the founder and the CEO of Agroz Group. Gerard, how are you feeling today?
Thank you, Arthur. Very, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words and introduction.
Well, you truly deserved it. So I know that today is we have a lot of things to talk about. We have a lot of things that you will be going through. So really, let's just really get into the show. I believe that everyone wants to know you as good as what you have in store for us. Now, just to make sure that everyone understands what exactly vertical farming means, could you just share in a very layman understanding so everyone sets the right ground on the understanding of vertical farm?
Sure. So indoor vertical farming essentially means that we are doing farming, right? A very, very traditional, as I think you have put it, one of the oldest industries known to man, right? We've been doing farming for the longest time. And our forebears and forefathers have been doing farming traditionally in the open land. But here we are, technology really has enabled us to now conduct farming activities indoors. And when it is done indoors, we are also optimizing the use of the space that is indoors. So obviously when we are indoors, we don't have a sprawling piece of land as you would typically have in an open farm. But when you're growing indoors, you have vertical space, right? Especially when we are looking at, as we are here in Agroz, a warehouse with easy floor to ceiling height of about 20 feet, right? So what we do is we try to occupy that vertical space. And so we build the farm one on top the other, on stacking on each other. And that then creates that visual sight, if you like. I have photos of it that I'll share in a short while. That is what people associate it with being vertical. Right? So we grow the vegetables, we grow our food, if you like, in this case, vertically indoors. So in simple terms, that's what it means. But in order to achieve that, it uses a multitude, a real large combination of technologies that makes it all possible. There are various different techniques that enable us to then grow indoors. And of course, for Agroz, we use hydroponics, which is again in a very established technology that has grown and matured. I would take it as long as the last 20 some years, if not longer. And this technique does not need the use of soil. It just uses water and nutrient. But at the same time, when we are then growing indoors, we are able to then control the environment in totality in terms of the temperature, in terms of the humidity, the wind blowing, and as well as most importantly, is keeping the room very clean and keeping away the the insects and potentially even bacteria as we then grow in a very, very clean room environment. And that is effectively the, if you like, the characteristics that are part of indoor vertical farming, so that we can actually grow our vegetables in a very clean manner, in a very fresh manner, and we're also able to use completely organic nutrient, or at least that's what Agroz uses, right? Because there are many different ways of indoor vertical farm. So I hope that answers your question, Arthur.
Surely you did. I mean, it's like you interpret it in a very simple manner, so true words, but the execution is certainly is very complex and very comprehensive. Now, Gerard, how did it all started? I mean, you were a successful technopreneur. You listed two companies even in Europe itself. How did it evolve from a technopreneur to become a farmer? Did you like one fine day woke up and say that, hey, I want to be a farmer? Hey, I want to change people's life in food safety, security, and sustainability. How did it all happen?
Well, for me, the journey did not just sort of happen in the last few months. No, it actually is a journey that started for me about maybe 5-6 years ago. And again, it started with technology. I mean, I've been in the software services space for the last almost 28 years now in telecommunications, media, and technology, or TMT, as the industry is known globally. So and over the years, in terms of software and services, in the last 5-6 years ago, I was also involved in IoT, Internet of Things, big data, and part of that was also involving artificial intelligence. If you like, in Malaysia, it was the nascent or early stages. Now it's somewhat established. And one of the key industry sectors that I did recognize and identify was agriculture. Because even way back then, about 5-6 years ago, I felt that Malaysia, in terms of its food safety, we are far from it, because the food that we eat don't seem to be safe, because we use a lot of pesticides, fungicides, a lot of preservatives, and we import a lot of our vegetables. So there was also no food security, right? In fact, even until now, a lot of the vegetables, just take it as simple as just vegetables, we import a large percentage of our vegetables. Chili, for example, right, was one prime area that I was looking into. At that point in time, 5-6 years ago, Malaysians really love our chili. So much so that we had to import, even 5-6 years ago, 50% of all our chili are actually imported. Today, unfortunately, the scenario has even gone from bad to worse. Almost 60 plus, almost 70% of our chili is actually imported. So Malaysians don't grow enough chili, not for the lack of trying, but because the way in which how we grow chili is very traditional. So some years back, I was putting together the technological solution, introducing these to chili farmers, and that was how I got started into Agritech, if you like. But I found that a lot of the farmers were small farmers, and they were not able to afford the technology, even though it wasn't very expensive, even back then. And at the same time, I was also looking at container farming, because looking at growing vegetables in containers vertically, right? But obviously the container itself restricts the number of layers that we can actually grow in. So, and there were some projects that I got started and assisted in terms of container farming. And then in about late last year, I said to my business associates and friends and said that, since the farmers are not interested to adopt the technology, why don't we become the farmer? And we adopt the technology that we have been trying to sell. And we go and we do this at a scaled up position, meaning to say we run a commercial size, industry grade indoor vertical farm. Let's take it all the way to the biggest size possible and introduce it here in Malaysia, because I believe all Malaysians, you and I included, deserve food safety, food security, and sustainability. And that is exactly how Agroz came about. And that is where we are today, having the ambition of wanting to build Malaysia's largest indoor vertical farm, because I sincerely believe that everyone here in Malaysia deserves to have food safety, food security, and sustainability, and delivering clean, fresh, quality vegetables for a start to everyone that would like to enjoy it.
So that's certainly a big shoes that you're going to fill in. That's definitely a very exciting missions that you have. So yes, you did mention about container farm. So I do understand that currently you have a container farm of 300 square feet, which equivalents to a 1 acres farmland, and of course
Yes.
producing about 200 kilos of vegetables on a monthly basis. Now, as this is to kick off as of course your venture. And certainly, I'm sure. Could you just share, to our live viewers, as what was few of the challenges of kicking off, this as your pilot project, and how did you overcome it?
Sure. I think the container farm was just a quick kickstart, and it also allowed us to show to the world that this is exactly what we mean by vertical farm, and it certainly gives everyone a taste of not just the experience, but obviously the taste of the vegetables as well, right? And we have been receiving extremely positive feedback, and we are also seeing that we are already having customers who wants to buy more than we can actually produce. So
That's a
we're
good sign.
yeah, we are having a happy problem. The demand is outstripping the supply.
Demand higher than supply. Then that's a
Yeah,
very
so
good
we
business to
really,
be
really
in.
need to scale out, and this is really giving us a lot of motivation to accelerate our plans to build this large-scale vertical farms, because we're seeing a lot of requests and demand. We're now seeing how we can manage in the meanwhile while we build this large-scale farm so that we can accommodate this demand. But the container farm in Mines 2, which is in Sri Kembangan, is just the start of it. I have a video which I like to share to everyone listening in. So it's one container, but actually in total there'll be five in the next 3 to 4 months when we fully deploy. Another 2 containers should be arriving end of March as we're putting the bits and pieces together. As I've tried to describe earlier, it takes a lot of technology to put one together. And so there will be 5 in total. So, Arthur, we'll have 1 ton per month produced out of the 5 containers. But
Yeah.
even that is actually not going to be enough. So we need to really scale up to 5,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet, and ultimately 30,000 square feet, which is what we're planning to at least build quite quickly in Section 23 in Shah Alam. So I'll explain that in a short while. Coming back to your question, what are the challenges? I think that to begin with, the container farm sits in the middle of an open space car park, right? So
So the accessibility, electricity, water supplies.
exactly. So one of the things that we need to put together was to power it up, because you would soon realize that these indoor farms uses a lot of electricity, and you'll see why in a short while. There's pumps, there's air conditioning, there is also the lights, LED lights that we use to provide the necessary photosynthesis process to the plants. And so yeah, electricity. So we had to actually pull in the electricity supply from the nearest feeder station and so on and so forth. And then there's water, and yeah, and of course, we had to also build an enclosure that will connect the 5 containers into, so that we can actually use the enclosure for the cleaning, the sorting, and the packing, right? So we've learned a lot of lessons from there, and obviously when we build it into the large scale farms, we'll have all of these built ever ready into the warehouses that we'll be occupying. So yeah, and I guess the reason why we started with container farm rather than go straight into the indoor farms was, as I said earlier, we just needed to show to everyone, have the believable factor that, oh, this is something that works. And because every one of these farms is actually capital intensive, right? And I think that's the main reason why no one has actually gone into large scale indoor vertical farms, at least not in Malaysia. Right, the nearest that we know of, as you have correctly pointed out earlier, was Bayer and Temasek, which is in Singapore, right? And there are also vertical farms in Japan, in Taiwan, and of course, all different parts of China. So those are farms that we know, and there's no large scale ones in Malaysia simply because it's really capital intensive.
So from a container farm, and because the mission is to go to the large scales, as what you have mentioned, and that's why we're here also as well. That this is really impacting, community, the people's, the way we live, eat, and also work as well. But ultimately, it still goes back, to solving, the food safety, security, and sustainability. So with that, I believe Gerard, you do have, putting through all your thoughts coming together. And this is definitely not an overnight work. This is a 6 years, of thought process that you have connected all the dots. I believe that you have something, to showcase to us. So I'll leave the next half an hour for you to be showcasing, what you would like to present to us. And to all live viewers, apart from listening attentively, to what Gerard will be presenting, do feel free, to ask your questions. Please list down your questions in the chat box, and by 3:50, we'll be picking up some of the right and relevant questions before we wrap up the session. So over to you, Gerard.
Thank you very much again, Arthur, and a very, very good afternoon to one and all. And hope everyone has had a wonderful day and a good afternoon so far. And so for the next 30 minutes or so, I'd like to share with everyone a few slides, right, in terms of the journey that not only what we've been through, but obviously the way forward and really how we want to be able to see everyone having an opportunity to participate with us, because the venture ahead that we want to do is significant. And I personally believe that it's not something that I can, or even Agroz on our own can achieve. We really need a small village, if not maybe the whole country, to support us behind this particular venture. So there's a lot of opportunities for one and all. And at the end of the day, we want to look at growing quality and freshness that we can trust. So let me just get on with my slides here. I think Arthur alluded to this earlier. So this is one of the key reasons the world's population is growing. And though we may ask ourselves what's so relevant about this in Malaysia, but the reality is that Malaysia's population is maybe growing at a smaller pace, but the fact of the matter here is that the business of Agroz will be looking at not just Malaysia, but beyond our shores. As it stands, we are also receiving some good interest from individuals and organizations from around the region. So it is really about addressing the population, growing population of the world. In the context of Malaysia, urbanization is highly relevant. This is data from a while back from United Nations. But if you look at some of the more recent numbers, you will find that 8 out of 10 Malaysians are actually living in a major city. So Malaysia is very, very urbanized. And that's probably the reason why in this particular round of MCO, it's becoming a bit of a struggle to do hard lockdowns without economic impact, especially in states like Selangor, because this is where a lot of people in Malaysia are concentrated in. But at the same time, it creates an opportunity for us to be able to serve these large communities in these urban market centers. These are the other pain points, right? These will actually set the stage in terms of the problem statement that Agroz is also looking to solve. For example, I'm sure many of you are also aware that Malaysia has an increasing food import bill, right? And this is continuously increasing year on year, right? That's the major point number 3 over there. And again, I think the other one that is of great concern, as far as from my point of view, is food safety. The big point number 5 there, where we are using chemicals and pesticides and also preservatives, in terms of where we are currently farming from the highlands. And again, there's also the traceability. We don't really know if the vegetable that's labeled as organic is truly coming from an organic farm or not, right? And of course, in recent months, COVID-19, we've had job losses. What are the opportunities going forward in terms of creating new jobs, generating new income for the community? And I think that we've seen increase in Grab Food and Food Panda riders, but I think long term, in order to create sustainability, we need to look at industries that can be developed again in these urban market centers that can actually create jobs for the young adults that we are starting to see come into the job market. And again, with our kind of indoor vertical farming, it is no longer farming as how we know it. We have completely disrupted and transformed farming. So no longer do you need to worry about the elements standing in the hot sun to do your farming. Now you can actually be in nice, comfortable air conditioning environments, right? 20-something degrees Celsius and doing your farming indoors. right? So this brings a huge appeal together with the use of technology for young adults to actually work in our indoor vertical farms. So that's something that I would like to really create. Now, all this data is not coming from Agroz. It's actually earlier data. You can actually see the sources. This particular slide, this data is from KWSP or EPF. Then, of course, we also saw in March, April last year, I'm sure you've read about stories where the whole value chain for food supply or vegetable supply, especially from Cameron Highland, was disrupted. And not too many weeks ago, you may have seen pictures of the flooding, the landslide that was around Pahang and also affecting Cameron Highlands. And some of these incidences, unfortunately, because of the disruption in transportation or non-availability of transportation to bring the vegetables down, Cameron Highland farmers had to dispose and huge amount of waste. In fact, I know one particular Cameron Highland farmer that was really just shouting out on social media and say that, hey, if anyone wants to come and pick up the vegetables from my farm, please do so. I would even give it away for free because there's just no way to get it out to the lowlands, to us in the urban centers. So again, this is showing where having the farms in faraway places, right, is not working. We need to bring the farms closer to where we consume our food. So this is where we talk about having local farms within a short transportation distance to our plate. So this is where I talk about the farm to plate model. And so the disruption is not just in terms of the food production, right? That's something that technology with what Agroz is doing with our indoor vertical farm is already doing. But when we locate these farms within the local community is the other disruption. We will then disrupt the distribution value chain of our of food production and bring these farms closest to the consumer. So we can actually deliver on the promise of farm to fork within hours and not days. So that would actually preserve the nutrition value of the food that you consume. It will be clean and fresh, and it will not be days anymore, and certainly not weeks. Because if you realize some of the vegetables that we are actually consuming or buying from our grocers or supermarkets are actually also imported. That's even worse. That would have spent at least 10 days to 2 weeks on the back of a ship, maybe from China. It will definitely be preservatives involved. You look at the fruit or the vegetable, it looks fresh, but if you were to cut it up, the inside may be a different story. I'm sure you've all experienced that yourselves. And then the ironic thing is that we actually end up buying this thing called the veggie wash, and we use the veggie wash, which is essentially a chemical, to wash off the preservatives and the chemical that is on the vegetable. And when that all is happening, we wash away all the nutrient as well, because the actual nutrient is on the leaf of the vegetable, which we should be consuming clean and fresh. And that's something that Agroz is here to deliver. So in summary, the benefits of the Agroz indoor vertical farm is about having it in the local community. The farm that we're planning to build in Shah Alam, or will be building in Shah Alam in section 23, is meant to then serve the catchment area around around the Shah Alam, which is going to stretch all the way to Sunway, to Subang Jaya, to USJ, of course, to all the areas of Shah Alam, all the way to Klang, right? So this will then bring the whole concept of direct from farm to fork to reality, right? We are looking at producing the food closer to where it's actually consumed. We're also able to then look at matching demand and supply through a subscription model to consumers. So Mr. Lim or Arthur would like to actually buy your vegetables every Monday, okay? You put your credit card down, and every week Monday, we will make sure that we deliver vegetables to you on a subscription basis. If there were 1,000 individuals like Arthur, we will know exactly when these vegetables are to be grown, to be harvested, to be sent over to Arthur. We will then be able to also know what we're going to be growing. So we can actually match demand and supply very well, thus minimizing wastage, right? So that's the whole premise of matching demand and supply through a subscription and contract farming for businesses. I talked already about reducing the distribution complexities and disrupting the distribution value chain. At the end of the day, we can then deliver fresher food produce direct to your table or to your fork within hours rather than days. And this is where Agroz has this particular tagline that we like to use. where we say that this is freshness that you can see, hear, and taste. See because it is green, you can see the freshness. Hear because when you eat our vegetables, it's crunchy. You can literally hear the crunch, okay? And it's tasty because it's really fresh. Some say our vegetables are sweet. Some even say it leaves a aftertaste, like fine wine, okay? But that's up to the individual to experience, and you tell me what you find. At the end of the day, we are looking at a safe and healthy approach to grow our vegetables so that it is with zero harmful chemicals and do not use any kind of preservatives, do not use any kind of pesticides, fungicide, or herbicide, right? What we do use are organic nutrients. We do not use any kind of A, B chemical used to create the fertilizer, no. We use all what we know as plant-based food. These are all organic nutrients. Last but not least, it's also to increase production because we're stacking it up vertically, 8 levels high in a 20 feet floor to ceiling height warehouse. And it's overall good for the planet and good for the people, right? So this is where Agroz Indoor Vertical Farm is going to be looking to focus on food safety, food security, and sustainability. I think I mentioned this a number of times. And this is only possible because to make it sustainable, we use a lot of technology, multitude of different technologies. Some of these I have had personal experience of building solutions around it. So in a nutshell, the Agroz Indoor Vertical Farm community-based farms is here for you, right? And I said already, we can't do this without all your wonderful support, not just as customers or consumers, but we are here to also open up the opportunity for all of you to be investors, to come and join us on this journey to be part owner of what we're trying to build here, to be a part shareholder of Agroz, and to be a part owner of these indoor vertical farms. Agroz and our indoor vertical farms are also fully aligned to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. I'm sure some of you may have seen these logos. There are 17 SDGs in total. Agroz has identified our indoor vertical farms supports 10 of the 17 SDGs. And of course, I think Arthur highlighted this earlier. I just wanted to show to everyone that this is where our journey started with regards to the Agroz container farms. This is located in Mines 2 in Sri Kembangan. And I would welcome anyone who is interested to let me know, and we can also make plans for you to take a visit to these farms in Mines 2. Of course, right now we are in MCO. So perhaps once the MCO is lifted, we can have any one of you who are interested to come and take a visit to this farm. Arthur, is the audio coming across clearly?
Yep, very good.
Thank you. Great. So that gives you a glimpse of what the inside of the container farm looks like. Now, mind you that the container farm is not new because my business associates and partly to some extent myself, they've been involved in container farming now. In fact, their first container farm located in Penang was already put in place about 4+ years ago. So it's not something new. And I have had also experiences with container farms. And this particular container farm in Mines 2 has also had about coming to the fourth cycle of our harvest. And the harvest is very repeatable. I would say right now that the growing is literally a science. So it's very precise, right? So this is what we call precision agriculture, right? And smart farming at work. These are examples of the produce that we can find in the Agroz container farm, and you will get the same in the indoor large-scale vertical farms that we're putting together in Shah Alam. So in short, we always say that the Agroz vegetables are clean, fresh, and happy vegetables, right? Because we grow them very well and we see that they grow extremely well. They're all very consistent in size, in shape, and color, and also to some extent the weight. So we always say that our vegetables grow very happily in our technologically advanced precision control indoor vertical farms, right? And these vegetables are grown in a very safe and sustainable manner. We only use non-GMO seeds. To me, that's super important because I don't want any one of us and myself and my family to be eating any genetically modified seeds. So these are all non-GMO seeds, and we only use organic nutrients, absolutely no pesticides. So at the end of the day, when we have all these quality inputs, we also get quality outputs, which are the vegetables that are sweet, crunchy, and nutrition rich. And you need to taste it to be able to understand what I'm trying to say when you say that taste is to be experienced and well remembered. These are a list of all the vegetables that we can already grow in our indoor vertical farms, right? So it is a combination of all the leafy greens that will make into your favorite salad bowl. We've also got edible flowers, herbs, and of course we can also grow microgreens. If you're all familiar about microgreens. If you don't know what microgreens are, you can always ask me at the end of this presentation. All of this is only possible because we use a combination of technology. And these are some of the technologies and the systems and platforms that Agroz either already has or we are actually building over the next coming months. Right? We also have a remote monitoring and management control system called Plant Keeper. This is a view of the mobile app. In fact, it's on my smartphone so that I can actually monitor the situation and status of the farm from wherever I am or wherever I am as long as I've got internet connection. Then we collect a lot of data using IoT and big data. This is again coming back to the experience that I've had over the last 5 to 6 years. And from this, working in combination with our agronomists, we actually see how we can further optimize the growing of our vegetables so that we can even improve what is already good or improve on what is already better. What's next? Obviously to take all of that experience over the years and build it into a large scale, what I like to call a commercial scale, industry grade indoor vertical farm. And it needs to be located in the local community. And we have identified a location in Shah Alam. I'll show it to you in a short while. So that will be the first of potentially many indoor vertical farms. But we're deciding that let's build it here in Shah Alam, in Klang Valley. And we may look at building other large-scale indoor vertical farms in other states as well. The goal is clear and simple, to provide fresh, clean food supply to the local community, at the same time create jobs, provide income streams, and a platform to nurture local entrepreneurs. And I dare say this is a post-COVID-19 economic activity because we find that this is so relevant in today's context, given the pandemic, that we need to focus on our local community. And that's why I'm here talking to all of you to see if you as members within the community would like to actually have an ownership in this farm. This is what it will look like, scaling up from container into the Malaysia's largest indoor vertical farm. We're building this indoors, in the warehouse. And over the next coming months, we will seek to have certification. right? And the standards that we are going to be placing ourselves on is going to be international standards. We are looking at the global gap. We've already spoken to the auditors from Control Union, and global gap is the global good agricultural practice, and USDA organics is the recognition of, it's actually USDA, US-based standards for organic farming, right? And hydroponics, the systems that we're using, growing vegetables and plants using water and nutrient, in the US, it can also be recognized for USDA organic. Just a quick note that our farms today are already insured by Allianz. In the coming months, the yield, that means the production of the vegetables itself, will also be insured by Allianz, right? So that's something that we're working closely with the insurer to say that whatever we produce, if there's any shortfall, it will be covered under our insurance policy. Large-scale indoor vertical farms are not new, right? So we're not here to experiment. We are here to build a business. We are here to scale up from what we already have. TEPCO, which is the Tokyo Electric Power Company in Japan, basically it's like the TNB, Tenaga National in Japan, are already invested into large-scale indoor vertical farms. This is a piece of news from middle of last year, 2020. And SoftBank, I think Arthur mentioned this as well. SoftBank has also invested, in fact, SoftBank has lots of investments into indoor vertical farm. This is just one particular example from late last year, October 2020, where SoftBank invested 140 million US dollars into